What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Week 10 edition of the Cash Process. I am your host, Ben Hostler. I am once again solo. Anthony showed his face on the Sunday morning stream this week, but new house duties have overrun his life, and he is out once again for the Week 10 edition of this video, which is fine. I've reached out to some people across the industry to see if they would be interested in joining later on this season. So hopefully that is in the cards coming up. We are getting into November, man. We're getting into the swing of things. This is week 10. Um, yeah, it's just crazy how fast the season's going into November. We have God's Greatest Game, Thanksgiving Day DFS 3-game slate coming up in a few weeks. I'm excited for that. But we are here to talk about week 10. So let's dive in here. Let's talk a little bit about week 9, what went right, what went wrong. It was predictably chalky, which I told you was going to happen on last week's video. So when I was on here last week, it was Wednesday, and we had just got that news about Aaron Rodgers being out. So I kind of assumed everyone would be playing Jordan Love, but obviously the more I researched the slate, it was pretty evident that there just was nowhere really to spend up. And my article was free last week, so if you guys are curious what my premium article looks like for each week, you can go back and look at last week's. I kind of just walk through my entire player pool, but it was pretty evident that even though I really liked the savings of Jordan Love, it just wasn't going to be necessary. And then if you guys watch the Sunday morning stream, we do that every Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Normally myself and Sam, but sometimes AC jumps on as well. We just answer your guys' questions, talk about our final thoughts on the slate. It was pretty evident that you just didn't need him, so I ended up playing Lamar Jackson, which worked out well. It was just a really good spot for him. He's crushed zone defenses. Um, Daniil Hunter was out for the Vikings, and then Sunday morning we got that news that Harrison Smith, their best safety, also was going to be out. Like the stars were just aligning for a really good Lamar Jackson game, and he did well. He obviously was 50+% owned in cash games, so it was no secret, but that worked out. I ended up winning about 45% of my head-to-heads, and I missed cashing in double ups by 5 points, 5, 6 points, thanks to playing Kadarius Toney over T Higgins, and I had the $100 to play Higgins. Um, this is where I'm kind of torn because I think Higgins obviously projected better. He was going to be higher owned. Like it was probably the better play to play T Higgins, but I felt. I mean, Kadarius Toney was one of my conviction plays last week. I felt really good about him. I stuck to my gut and I went down and it just didn't work out, which sometimes it doesn't. It's frustrating. That's kind of how my season's been going right now. For the most part, like just treading water. But I'm keeping a positive attitude, keeping a positive outlook. I've been on the right plays literally every week. I came on here last week and said that I felt like I should be, 8-9-0, but um, that's kind of just how it's been for me this season. And I've been on the right plays. I'm going to trust the process here. And we're going to get back to work here on week 10. So let's dive in. I have the quarterback projections pulled up. You can access these projections with a premium membership, dfskarma.com/pricing. You get projections. You get my article. You get my final thoughts cheat sheet. You get our core plays. You can literally tail our core plays. Myself, Sam, Anthony, Bales, Matt, who's really sharp, all of us. You can tell what we're playing. It's a great deal. Check it out, dfskarma.com. And now that we're 4 minutes into the video, if you guys are still watching, please, you don't have to pay anything. Like the video. It's free. It really helps us out. You guys don't understand. It actually really helps out. Liking the video. Comment below your thoughts on the slate, whatever. Just throw a comment, a like, subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate it. So on the screen, you'll see if you're watching this on YouTube, I have the quarterbacks sorted by ceiling, which is what we like to target at quarterback. We have no Lamar Jackson on the slate, which is unfortunate because I think Lamar is someone that I'm going to be playing a lot throughout the rest of the season. But we can save that for another day under the slate that he is on. You can see the top 4 in projected ceiling: Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, and then Tom Brady rounds out the top 5. So I think upon looking at this slate, it's Tuesday, very early in the week. Lots of COVID. I just want to mention that lots of COVID situations have been popping up. Probably, Halloween parties, bye weeks are coming into play. So this could be another week where we get some COVID news on Wednesday, Thursday, and it completely changes the slate. So don't take this video with a grain of salt. This is a first look. I have tons more research to do, so we're just outlining my first look. I literally haven't looked at the pricing at all yet. Tom Brady sticks out, 7,600. Now, Tom Brady is not someone that I've played in cash games, someone I've played a lot in tournaments this season. But typically, we like to play guys at the top here that run the ball because their floors are higher. If they're having a bad game passing the ball, they can make up for it on the ground with their legs. Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. These are guys that can make up for it on the ground when they're having a bad game. Now, that being said, while I haven't really played Tom Brady, this is a fantastic matchup. Even looking on DK there and their little opponent rank thing that all the normal people that don't grind DFS and research, you'll see 28th. Washington is towards the bottom in fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks, and Brady just passes the ball so much. 40 plus attempts in every game except for 2, the 2 outliers being 36 pass attempt games. He passes the ball so much. It's a great matchup. He's going to continue to pass the ball. We've talked about this. He's probably chasing the single season touchdown record. He's going to keep throwing the ball even if they're up 25, 30 points. It doesn't matter. It's a great matchup. I'm probably going to be on Tom Brady this week in cash games. He's going to be chalky, at least upon first looking at this. I think he's going to be chalky, and I think that's where you want to go in cash. So outside of him, I think the spot for Herbert at home is really good. Herbert's someone that has rushing upside. And we talked about Minnesota being a zone heavy defensive scheme. He's at home. I think it's a good spot for Herbert at home in tournaments. I think it's a good spot for Matt Ryan in tournaments. Another guy that I really don't play a lot in cash, but for tournaments you can certainly use him. Got up to 31 DK points in that last game against the Saints. This is a much better matchup. Even though it's on the road, it's in a dome against the Dallas Cowboys defense that I certainly think he can have some success against. So I like the spot in GPPs as of right now for Matt Ryan in addition to Justin Herbert. Any of those other guys at the top you can make the case for as well. Like I said, sort by ceiling. I think you really want to target that in your tournament rosters. As far as cheap guys go, no one really sticks off. Obligatory mention. AC would be on here talking about Baker Mayfield probably, but I'm not going to be playing any Baker Mayfield. I think if you wanted to pick one cheap guy, probably be Heineke for me as of right now. We've seen him have a decent ceiling. When I say ceiling, I'm talking about him being priced in the low 5K tier and reaching 25 plus DK points. And I think that's definitely in the cards against Tampa, especially they should be trailing. He's at home. So that's probably the one cheap guy that I'm interested in. Though I will mention if the Saints come out and say they're going to just fully start Taysom Hill, they're going to give the offensive reins back to Taysom Hill, I would be interested in him at 5,200 against Tennessee for sure. I think that about wraps it up. I think it's very clear as of right now I want to go with Tom Brady in my main lineup in my cash game head-to-head roster for this week. I'm going to pull up running backs here. I'm going to sort by value. The first thing that stuck out to me right before I made this video, there's a lot of good running back plays this week. I think at the top, all of Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, all three are 7,900 or more. And I think you can play all three in cash games. I think McCaffrey, you would expect the usage to rise a little bit this week, but he's too cheap. I liked him in tournaments last week, coming back from that injury. He got 14 attempts. He got 5 targets. We'll see what's going on with their quarterback situation throughout the week, but we've pointed this out a couple times this season. Arizona is a teams like to run the ball against, and it's Christian McCaffrey for 8,400. So he's definitely going to be in play. Jonathan Taylor is on another planet right now. Anyone that has watched our content in years past know I'm I am the biggest Jonathan Taylor fan there is. His role has been so good in recent weeks. Just some monster games he's been putting up. Look at his, even if you just pull up his game log, 35, 31, 22, 21, 37, some massive games. He's at home against Jacksonville. Super, super good spot for Jonathan Taylor again this week. And then Najee Harris at home against Detroit. Like, you want to talk about Jonathan Taylor being a good spot. I mean, Detroit has been just a terrible defensive team. Teams have really gotten loose rushing the ball against them. Think back to that Philly Eagles game versus Detroit a few weeks ago when they ran in 3-4 touchdowns. Najee Harris continues to just dominate the work for the Steelers. 22 attempts in that Monday night game. 3 targets, 26, 24, 23. His attempt totals the last few weeks. He's getting all the work for the Steelers. Probably a cash game lock, I would say, at 7,900. He's probably the top overall play. And then let me skip over the mid-tier for a little bit. I don't think the projections are quite updated yet, but someone that you'll see popping in the Karma value section when Sam gets to that is our hometown Brown, Dearness Johnson, at 4,700 on DraftKings. Nick Chubb popped up on the reserve list today. Felton as well on the reserve list, and then John Kelly. So as of right now, the Browns are just down to Dearness Johnson. They're going to sign someone. I think they were talking about Brian Hill maybe. Like, they're going to sign some emergency running backs, but I think it's very unlikely that Chubb or Felton get cleared for this game. It's just kind of how it's gone this season. Even when guys have been vaccinated, they just haven't been able to get the double negative during the week enough in time to get back to the game. So I'm going to assume Nick Chubb and Felton are both out. We've seen the Browns hand the reins to Dearness Johnson in that Denver game on Thursday night a few weeks ago, 22 attempts. He went crazy, 146 yards and a couple touchdowns, or maybe just one touchdown, but a huge game from him. We can't really expect those results or that efficiency, but the Browns have a good line, and he's 4,700 and get all the work. So he will be a cash game lock, assuming Chubb is out. So you'll be plugging him in. And then I think this might be I think it's been 3-4 weeks in a row. I've kind of gone 4 receivers or 2 tight ends. This could be back to a 3 running back week for me with Najee, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, all in good spots. In addition to Dearness Johnson. So that's kind of how I would break down the cash game running back pool as of now. Now, for tournaments, you could definitely make a case for some of these other guys. Austin Eckler, man, he let me down last week in cash games, but I certainly think you can go back to him. I think you can look at like DeAndre Swift in tournaments. Tough matchup against Pittsburgh, but we like him when they're trailing. Given that huge passing game role. And then Michael Carter at 5,600. We'll see what's going on with the Jets quarterback situation, but he's been good. I know he only I don't even think he hit double-digit DK points in that game against the Colts, but we'll see what's going on. I think 5,600, he's in play. He's popping for value right now as well. And then James Conner is another guy in the mid-tier, priced up a little bit to 6,300, but it looks like Chase Edmonds will be out for this game, that high ankle sprain. He had a huge game against San Fran, 3 touchdowns. Can't really expect that, but I do think James Conner is in play in the mid-tier. So pretty clear running back pool for me this week. Let me pull up receiver, but it's been weird because we're accustomed in cash games to kind of spending up for running back, playing 3 running backs, and that just hasn't been the case the last few weeks. But I do think that looks like as of now the move for week 10. I'm going to sort the receivers by karma value here, pulling it up at the top tier. We'll see if Rodgers is back. Definitely interested in Devontae Adams at 7,900. That is too cheap. That's kind of pricing him because of his 10-point game with Jordan Love at quarterback last week. If Rodgers is back, Adams is going to pop. He's already popping for the highest value on the slate, as you can see on the screen, but he will be a real value if Rodgers is back. Definitely would be interested. Next guy that sticks out is Chris Godwin, 7,100. I'm assuming AB's out. They said he's still in a walking boot, so he's probably not going to be back for this game. When he's out. Chris Godwin is like a $7,700 receiver. He's at 7,100. We already know we're going to be playing Brady, so it would only make sense to stack him with one of those pass catchers. I do think Mike Evans is in play as well at 6,900, but Godwin is the guy for me. Like, love his role in this offense. And it's just both of them I think are underpriced for AB being out. So those guys definitely stick out. Dropping down through the mid tier here. None of these guys are popping for crazy value early on in the week. One guy that sticks out to me is Jerry Jeudy at 5,300. I actually played him in cash games last week. They made a point to get him the ball. I mean, he got 8 targets. I saw a good tweet. I think it was Adam Pfeiffer from FTN had it earlier this week, but Cortland Sutton's target share is super low in these games that Jerry Jeudy's been active. They've been clearly, like, just watching that game against Dallas, like, they were making a point to get him the ball. They were getting it in short to intermediate areas, as well as letting him run his full route tree. I think he was off the injury report last week, so the workload was increased. He's going to be healthy. It's a good matchup against Philly, I think. So I definitely am interested in Jerry Jeudy at 5,300. Cole Beasley, I think is going to pop for some value as well. You can see him 4th highest karma value in our projections as of right now. They kind of came out and said they've kind of been using him like a running back a little bit. And I mean, 13 targets and 11 targets the last 2 weeks. Tough to overlook that. Good matchup against the Jets. Cole Beasley, definitely pop it for me at 5,200 as of now. Dropping down a little bit farther, Jacoby Myers is projecting well, but I think I'm going to avoid that for now, only because we have Jamal Agnew at 4,500. You look at Jamal Agnew for 4,500 and think that is too expensive, but I pointed this out a few weeks ago. He has been the slot receiver. Like, he's jumped Laviska Shenault. He's been the slot receiver. We'll see if Lawrence is good to go for this game, but we like to target Indy in the slot over the middle of the field. I think Jamal Agnew for 4,500 is definitely a good play. Rondale Moore for 4,400 as well. Tough matchup against Carolina, but this guy was kind of popping at the end of last week for cash game consideration. Now we have Chase Edmonds out. It would make sense for them to get Rondale more involved in the short to intermediate areas of the field with no Edmonds. I think he's going to end up popping by the end of the week for 4,400 as well as a cash game option. I don't see anyone super cheap that's sticking out to me as of right now. So we'll wait and see if any more value opens up as the week goes on. But I think that about does it. I think there's a ton of good spend ups, right? You can make a case for a lot of those guys, but I think just Godwin and Evans stick out for sure. And then Devontae at the top, especially if Rodgers is back. I guess Keenan Allen would be the other one. He's been really good the last few weeks as well, and I kind of noted my interest in Justin Herbert. Deontay Johnson, I guess, is probably the other one. 6,800. I saw Chase Claypool's got an MRI on his toe. I don't assume that that's going to keep him out of this game, but if it for some reason did, just thinking ahead, definitely Deontay Johnson would be interesting at 6,800. Let me pull up the tight end projections here, and we'll head over there. But I think it's a pretty clear week. We want to look at this mid tier. Depending on what happens with Rodgers coming back, I want to plug in Godwin and then look at that mid tier for receiver. Hopefully some more value opens up so we can get up to 2 of those expensive running backs as well. I'll sort the tight ends here on the screen by value. Kyle Pitts at the top, obviously, is a great play. Not someone I'm going to be on for cash games most likely, but no issues with him. 3,900, Pat Freiermuth sticks out to me. This is someone that, if you guys watched the Sunday show, you remember, I think it was against, it was pretty early in the season. Might have been against Cincy, week 3. Someone asked for a low-owned touchdown call. I picked out Pat Freiermuth. I like Pat Freiermuth. He's athletic. He scores touchdowns, 2 touchdowns in that Monday Nighter. Scored against the Browns. We liked him in that matchup as well. Good matchup against Detroit. It's only 3,900. Completely fine right now with some Pat Freiermuth in cash games. Logan Thomas, I don't know if he's back yet. If he's out, Ricky Seals-Jones 3,700 on the opposite side of that Tampa Bay game would be interesting. I don't see like any like last week we had the obvious Albert O chalk. I don't see any really cheap guys. I think you'd be looking at that low 3K tier. Jared Cook's popping at 3,200. You could definitely talk me into that, but I think I'd rather jump up and get to Freiermuth. I think Freiermuth stands out to me at 3,900 as clearly my favorite tight end for now. You can always spend up on some of these guys in GPPs. Dallas Goedert, Dalton Schultz. No issues with any of those guys. But I think it's Freiermuth, RSJ if Thomas is still out. Jared Cook certainly I think is in play as well. And then I'll finish up here with defense. As always, we want to spend down at defense in cash games. Panthers, depending on what's going on with Kyler, I think would be in play. I don't see any like super cheap defenses. Last week it was like obvious you could use Chiefs as well. Like that was going to be pretty chalky. But I think Panthers, Seahawks, depending on Rodgers, would be interesting. Titans at home probably will get some run, definitely coming off their last few games. So that's kind of my defense take. Save as much money and then like look to spend up to the mid tier or upper tier in tournaments. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Be sure if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Tell me who you're locking in for cash games this week. Good luck in week 10, and I'll see you guys on the rest of the content throughout the week.